So one of the things that like inspired me to have you on the show is that you have a goal to deliver robots that help people to perform dull, dirty, and dangerous jobs. Um, of course, that's important to me because I'm one of those people. But what inspires you to do that for people like me? So, and our listeners, by the way.
Well, I have to say that's a tagline that was possibly first used by Carnegie Mellon University. That's a very big research center in robotics. I truly believe in it, right?
Yeah.
The dull, dirty, and the dangerous is the things that the robots are best at.
Okay.
You have to have a real need that you're putting the robot behind. Vacuuming, weeding. I see so many robot companies. They're trying to make an emotional robot, for example, right? I hope they crack it, right? Because I love every robot, but it's not the hardcore need that people take out the wallet and buy. But with something like the Roomba, the Turtle, the lawn mowing robots, it's a real need that people have, and I think those are going to be the ones that get out there into the, iRobot's at 30 million Roombas, and I get this. It's not just 20% of the robot vacuuming market. iRobot is 20% of the entire North American vacuum market. So that would have been unimaginable when we started in 1990.
Yeah, no, that is crazy. So my fiance gets so mad at me because we don't have a robot vacuum in our house. So it's actually
don't have a robot vacuum.
Yeah, it's actually kind of ironic that I was just giving you a little bit of crap for not having a robot lawnmower, and I don't have a robot vacuum. But the reason that I don't, and why I hadn't, is I never understood, like, okay, we used to have 4 dogs. Unfortunately, 2 have just passed away. I only have 2 now. And I'd always be like, how is this thing going to even pick up enough? I've got a big house. And, but then the other day I was like, you know what, this is crazy. I'm like the robot guy and I still vacuum. And then I noticed, well, now it pulls in and it basically cleans itself and it's like 30 days worth. And I'm like, now. This is crazy. Like now we're really going somewhere.
Yeah, and the new ones are using a vision navigation system to get around. So, and the hair, that used to get tangled, they've come a long way on that. But you got to start somewhere. And if we hadn't put it on the market in 2002, we wouldn't have got there, right?
So, what's the vision technology? I'm just interested to know for myself. I'm going to get one.
Indoors, there's a little bit of a cheat. You have a camera. Camera chips have come, camera modules have come down a lot in price, but they're tilted a little bit up. And sometimes the furniture and stuff changes, but the ceilings rarely change. So they're making a full SLAM map of the environment as they're running around every time, and they're navigating. SLAM is simultaneous location and mapping. And so they're making a map and navigating within that map of the home.
Wow, that's amazing. See, I didn't even know that existed in those. So,
and that'll come to the lawnmowers at some point in time, I believe. But it's a little bit harder outdoors because of the sunlight, the shadows.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got to be very careful when you have high-speed spinning blades.
Yeah. Well, and then, that's what I would say. I don't know. You don't, unlike the house, you don't have that constant, because everything in landscaping is constantly changing. Trees are growing, bushes are growing, so right. I feel like the surroundings will change. But I'm interested to see, how that goes. So I always like to talk about people that like mentor. So like do you have some mentors in your life, people that really you look back on that really helped mentor you to be who you are today?
There were a few professors at MIT that my advisor, Ken Salisbury, William Durfee, who was, I worked for him in a lab, and one of the largest names, Woody Flowers, who was the person who started the first competition. He was an MIT professor when I knew him.
So do you, so my daughter's back in college now. So usually I do this, it's with us. And I always like, as her dad, I literally am constantly telling her she could take over the world one day. Were there any barriers or anything in the field you're in? Do you feel that it's any harder to be a woman in your industry versus a man? Or does that kind of not exist in your guys' world because people see each other as brilliant minds are a brilliant mind?
I think like everything else, things can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, many times I was the only woman in the room, in both in technology conferences and in the military conferences. But on the other hand, people always remembered me as the robot lady.
Yeah.
So I stood out. So, everything's
Yeah, you got good with the
the
bad.
good and the bad, right?
Yeah. I always just wonder because I know sometimes like, when you look at our industry, like, the industry of hard labor, in the past is really male dominated, and now with us, my daughter coming in and being in the outside service industry, I always am like telling her like, don't ever let yourself get pushed around. But a guy like me, wonders like, I mean, like I said, a brilliant mind is a brilliant mind, but so I just figured I'd ask the question. So, if you're starting all over again, what would you tell your 20-year-old self or 20-year-ago self do? Would you do anything different, or do you think you made all the right decisions?
Looking back, to start a company, not have a business plan, or not have a realistic business plan, etc., I'd say that's probably not the best idea, but it worked out, right? So sometimes you just got to be in it to have the pieces of luck you need fall into place at the right time. So just getting out there and getting into the fight, can make it happen. Even if you don't have that brilliant plan, like, the guys from Google, for example, had up front.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you feel like you ever had any tough times in that business then? I mean, obviously.
Oh, we had a ton. We were hand to mouth at iRobot for the first 5 years, right? We never had the cash in the bank for payroll at the end of the month.
Really?
For 5 years, yes. And we'd have to stop what we're doing, building robots, and do accounts receivable, beg for more time on account payable, and so it was very rough and stressful because we had employees we had to pay and stuff. I think there were easier ways to do it, but we didn't know of them at the time, and we probably wouldn't have been investable right at the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could say do it another way, but it worked out great. My career's been a dream come true.
Well, I think one of the things, and I guess this is the call out to even like bankers or people with money, is that, I imagine it was even worse for you than it even is now. And it's still bad. It's like, when I bring up robotic lawn mowing to a bank and say, hey, I want to buy, $500,000 worth of robots. They're like, wait, what are you doing? And then so
you should have heard the reaction in the 90s. Like, I would do this, but my partners would kill me from the investors. I gave at the office. Just so many, robots aren't real, right? You don't bring them up, in the military because Congress will laugh. Right? Somebody actually said that to me.
Yeah, well, and what we get is people being upset that it's taking people's jobs, So like I'll get people that send me emails or whatever, and they're like, "Oh man, this is crazy. You're taking people's jobs," and I'm looking at it like these are jobs people don't want. I mean, even like you guys, like you're helping. I just lost my background here. You're wanting to help with with diffusing bombs, and it's probably a little bit different, but now when you're talking these dirty jobs or weeding or whatever, people think these are jobs people want, and nobody's going to school and staying in high school or going to college, but then wants to live the rest of their life pulling weeds or sitting on a lawnmower.
Yeah, especially when you're delivering to consumers, right? It's stuff a lot of times people end up doing themselves and taking away from the quality time they would spend with their children or pursuing their hobby.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you how long do you think it's going to take you to accomplish the things you guys want to accomplish at Turtle? I mean, it sounds like from talking to you, this is just the beginning, or you're just on the brink. You know?
I think it's just the beginning. We've got a wonderful first step with a product that autonomously takes care of the weeding in the vegetable garden. It's highly useful. It's but there's so much further we can go, and I can't tell you about specifics about what we'll do next, but it's just such a high engagement place, and it's such a place people are passionate about and they want their yards and their gardens to look beautiful, and a lot of times they don't have enough time or money to make it that way.
Yeah. Well, and I think your guys' price point is amazing. You know, I mean, when you look at it, it's a very simplistic setup, you know.
We put the Roomba on the market originally back in 2002 for $200. So I think $349 is probably about the same today, with people more used to robots and more used to tech and inflation and stuff. We also did that on both products because it's kind of the price point you don't have to have a big negotiation with your significant other. Say, I could just get this. Yeah, no,
that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing with robot mowing is, you know, it's $3,500 and everybody's like, yeah, it's, you know,
you just buy it, try it. And, you know, we actually have a money back guarantee so people can return them if they don't like them. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great to know. So, you know, I mean, you've achieved a high level of success. Were you able to keep a good, like, family, like, life balance with this type of career? Do you find that?
No, I had none until recently.
What's that? Not until recently?
I had none until recently, yes. But it's not like that, right? Because my job has always been my passion and my hobby. So I'm very fortunate in that working hard is something that I've always been in that flow position. That's a philosopher, Csikszentmihalyi. He says the way people are really happy in their lives, if they get into this situation where they're so busy at something that time flies, right? And when you're developing a robot, when you're getting it on the market, you know, it's you get so into it that you're in that flow condition.
I can guarantee that's going to be one of our micro quotes. Like I actually, and I'm saying it out loud to make sure it's one of our micro quotes. Yeah, I love that, and we share that in common. Sometimes I get so wrapped up in the businesses that I'm developing, and.
But when you look back, what were the best times in your life?
Well, so for me, a lot of the best times in my life always revolve around my business development.
Exactly.
Yep. And but I've been really blessed. I mean, my landscape and snow removal company, I do that company with my brother, John. Mm-hmm. This company I'm doing with my daughter, you know, mm-hmm. So I've been one of those people that the way I balance my family and work life is I just bring my family in on it. So it actually works out awesome. But sometimes I look back on it, and time, going to that whole, you know, flow thing that you said, it actually goes by so fast. I look at it and I'm like I'll get so consumed in it. And I'm like, holy cow, it's been 5 years already, you know, but at least I'm enjoying that 5 years, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is more, if my daughter was here, she would ask this question. You know, she starts getting this, like, you know, how do you keep yourself motivated? You know, I mean, you love what you do, so you probably don't even have to try it, you know, but do you ever find times where you find yourself unmotivated, or does it just come natural?
I find that learning something new every day, that would be my ideal, right? And whenever I step into a new field, always robotics, so I can bring something to the table, it puts me in that learning something new every day mode, which I love.
Yeah, and again, we have that in common. So are there any, like, I mean, obviously Star Wars was a movie for you, but are there any other movies to you that just, you know, like, are inspirational or motivational to you, or even books, you know?
I don't think I should say, but I really like the Terminator, but don't take that the wrong way.
Why would I take that the wrong way? I think it's awesome.
That's not where we're heading. You know, I think we're heading to a lot of devices that help around that people will take for granted, like they take this computers and cell phones for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good. Yeah. And I guess I see why, because people when we do robotic lawnmowers, right? Has anybody ever seen Terminator? So I suppose I see why you said that now. So, what do you want your legacy to be then? I mean,
one of the people that makes robots, not science fiction, but science reality.
that's perfect. I think that's a perfect legacy. So I just want to tell you that anything that I can do to help you, like make that vision, I'll always be there, like to help you, give opinions on product, anything you have, for people like me in the real world to make that like a reality, and not sci-fi. I just want to say I would love to help with that. And
we really
I think
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I honestly think that's literally a perfect place to sign off, unless there's anything else you want to add, that you think you want to add on to anything that I didn't cover.
No, Jeff, thanks for having me on the show.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. I totally enjoyed every moment of it. And I hope the audience enjoyed it as much as I did doing it.
Cool.
So
well, thanks.
all right. Thank you very much.